So this morning we're going to be discussing this called the claims of a Christian genocide, the invasion threats of U.S. President Donald Trump, and some background issues about what we're currently facing in Nigeria. So first and foremost, we need a bit of history around the background, history, geography, religion, and then of course politics. So you understand what's actually happening in Nigeria. I mean, I've had even non-Nigerians ask me, what on earth is going on here? I mean, Donald Trump just put us on the international scene. So basically, Nigeria is a very big place, right? That's Africa's most populous black nation. It is said that if Nigeria were to collapse, it's going to take the entirety of West Africa along with it. So basically, it's a very huge place, right? Sometimes a non-Nigeria would ask me, "Do you know so? Do you know about so and so?" I mean, it's a very huge place, right? And then we are also ethnically diverse. Some figures say that we have close to 200 or 250 ethnic groups or tribes, as the case may be, and then with different languages. The major ethnic groups are the Hausa or the Hausa Fulani, found in the north, majorly northwest, and the areas of the north central, and then you have the Yorubas in the southwest, then you have the Igbos in the southeast. These are the major tribes, and you have, of course, they're just major. You have a lot of other ethnic groups around these areas. So basically, Nigeria is divided into six geopolitical zones. You're going to understand why this is important and to carefully and objectively analyze what's actually going on. I mean, you have to be objective for you to be. There are a lot of people, they are selling narratives because of their they have their own hidden agenda. They have their own particular vendetta they want to carry out, particularly against Muslims, and some against Nigeria as a case may be. So the northwest, the north central, the northeast, southwest, southeast. So it's the northwest and the northeast are majoritarily Muslim. Of course, there are still Christian minorities in these places. North central, you have a huge population of Christians. And of course, Muslims also are there. Now, this north central is very important. And I'll make reference to it as I go on with the discussion. We have the southwest. Southwest is unique. We're a mix. So I am from the southwest. We're a mix of Christians and Muslims and then traditional worshippers. And so, but the majority of population is Christian Muslim in the southwest. Southeast also majoritarily Christian. Note this also: the southeast is majoritarily Christian. As I go on, you understand why this is important. So Nigeria has had a lot of trouble since its inception as a state, right? And then one of those is the 1967 to 1970 Civil War. 1967 to 1970 Civil War, where the Southeast, under the umbrella of Biafra, right, decided to secede from Nigeria, right? Southeast decided to secede from Nigeria. And then this led to the Federal Republic of Nigeria declaring war, and then ultimately the Southeast lost. So this is very important. The Southeast lost the war. The war ended, but the scars of the war, the pains of the war, never left a lot of our Southeastern compatriots, right? I mean, even if some of these individuals hate us passionately and want us dead, the fact of the matter is that they are still Nigerians until they actually have their Biafra. So, which is becoming more and more difficult from the way things are going, right? So the 1967 to 1970 Civil War happened. This also happened against a background of certain problems on ground. One of them that actually stares in the face is the fact that Nigeria does not have a national identity. In fact, I used to say that two groups of people who are actually interested in the Nigerian project are politicians, because of what they benefit from the system, and the military, because the military as an institution is trained, right? I mean, you may have dissenters even within the military, but the military as an institution is trained to protect the sovereign integrity of Nigeria as a state. And then this is one of the institutions that has kept Nigeria together for a long time. Now, when people talk about the Civil War, they forget to mention the fact that there was a background to the Civil War. There was a coup d'etat. There was an attempt to militarily take over the government in 1966 by Agui Ironsi, not Agui Ironsi, by Kaduna Nziogu. Now, this is in itself a funny issue, right? I read Adewale I've forgotten his second name. He was a participant in the 1966 coup. He wrote a book called Why We Struck. And I read also the Nigerian Civil War by another military man who fought on the side of the Biafrans. I've forgotten his name now. I also read Kaduna Nziogu by the former Nigerian president, General Olusegun Obasanjo. But when I read Why We Struck, I was a very young person then, my assumption was that, look, these guys were just ideological people, young ideological Nigerians who felt that they want to right the wrong of the British making of the Nigerian state, right? But circumstances have shown that there are several other interpretations to this. And then this is one of the reasons why the Civil War happened, right? The North. And then at this time, you don't have this North Central, the demarcation were not that very strong then. The North rallied against when the coup plotters, the coup failed actually. But the coup failed, the leaders of the Southwest were executed. Leaders of the North were executed. The Sardana of Sokoto was killed in a very, very bloody way, a very bloody and disrespectful way. For the North, they read this as, they didn't read it as a coup, they read it as an attempt to ethnically remove them from power. And that was why there was a counter coup against Agui Ironsi, who also made some mistakes along the line. He was also killed, right, with a Nigerian governor, so who died with him, right, at that time. So I'm giving the background so that we have an understanding of what is actually how we've gotten here. So this was the catalyst for the Civil War. History records that Igbos were killed in the North, right, because they felt that you guys have killed our leaders, and then they were even in the barracks, right, and then Ojukwu felt that Ojukwu, that was the leader of Biafra then, and I think he was the most senior military officer, if I'm not mistaken, in the East. So he declared his secession, and then the war started. So they lost the war. I mean, we can't talk talk. This is in itself is a topic on its own. They lost the war, but the spirit of the war never died. And then you realize this in 1993, when there were presidential elections held in Nigeria under the auspices of President Ibrahim Babangida. MKO Abiola won the election. This is no longer the undeclared. General Ibrahim Babangida has come out in his book that Abiola actually won the election. So he won the election, but it was annulled. The election was annulled. Now, what happened was that the Southwest became restive. We had the rise of pro-democracy activists. We have the rise of ethnic militias like the OPC, Oda People's Congress. So at times when I look at the antics of IPOB, indigenous people of Biafra, it's similar to what the OPC did then, right? But the thing was that ultimately a Yoruba man came to power again, and then Obasanjo actually dealt with the OPC and then defined them literally, right? They were also misbehaving and constituting a threat to people in Lagos, right? They were exactly what they didn't get to the point of declaring public holidays on Monday, but they had the same operandi. So I was talking about 1993 elections. There's a lot of people from the South, it's a lot of the Igbos, and we must be careful of generalizing because not everybody is this way. So a lot of the Igbos left Lagos and the Southwest. They were predicting that there's going to be war between the Nigerian states led by the military and the Yorubas. And they didn't believe that Yorubas betrayed and truncated the actualization of Biafra. So they withdrew. You ask your friends, why are you guys traveling east? They tell you, oh, New Yam Festival, and a lot of other concocted lies, right? So they withdrew, expecting a war, which did not come, right? Fortunately, unfortunately, there was no war. And then Nigeria had a transition to democracy. Again, the spirit of the 1967 to 1970 war never died in Biafra. So, for one thing or the other, we had a president in Goodluck Jonathan who came from the South. And in the Southeast, we were banking on. If you look at them, even the leader of the indigenous movement, the so-called movement for a Biafran state is Nnamdi Kanu. When Jonathan was the president of Nigeria, he didn't feel that the Southeast should secede. I mean, there are videos of him where he was supporting the Jonathan government. But Jonathan came from the South, and they felt that, okay, if a South person leaves, the presidency is going to likely go to the Southeast. Now, unfortunately, the politicians then ganged up against Jonathan, and then he found himself in Notoki, or whatever the name of his hometown was. It was democratically removed from power. All of this were televised. So from this, the Southeast realized that, look, the presidency is going to be a long way, and agitators amongst them decided that no, we're actually going to go back to Biafra and pull out. Which is, I mean, I can say that it's a very wrong political move, right? Basically, the thing is that they want to be president. There's all these agitations because they feel that they are maligned, and they are going through it in a very, very wrong way, right? So basically, this background would make it very clear as I go on. Have there been mass killings in Nigeria? Yes, there have been killings in Nigeria. Most times it is said to be along religious lines, but more often than not, they are ethnic related issues because of the setup of Nigeria. If there's a crisis in the north, right, and then there's there's a religious issue, and then Christians are being attacked. The attack ultimately becomes if you are non-Hausa speaking, if you're a non-Hausa person, you're non-Hausa Fulani, you're going to face the music. Right, we had this problem during the Miss World killings, where a lady wrote an article insulting to the Prophet ﷺ. So, but innocent people lost their life. Again, this is history. Political killings. When Major Muhammad Buhari lost to Obasanjo, there was a particular one that people were killed for their political views. Blasphemy killings, whereby mob attacks on people. This is not uniquely a Christian thing. I mean, in Niger State, we had a Muslim man who was accused of blasphemy and then was killed. Issues of this. So these issues are actually there. Then we had Boko Haram. So some people say that Boko Haram was actually created to truncate the presidency of Goodluck Jonathan. But yes, and we have reckless statement from certain northern statesmen who were very reckless in their statement. But the fact of the matter was that Boko Haram was an indigenous terrorist organization. This is the blunt truth. Whether they had state support, whether they have foreign support, that's a different thing. One thing was clear: there was this ideology was on ground, and then is one of the things the US has failed to realize. It was the removal of Muammar Gaddafi from Libya that gave Boko Haram access to weapons. Right, weapons flooded the Sahel. And then they found their ways into the hands of Boko Haram. Then you look at the makeup of Boko Haram people. We had foreigners amongst them, right? They declared for ISIS anyway. So Boko Haram came, and Boko Haram did not target Christians alone. They killed Muslims as much as possible. In fact, the Muslims killed by Boko Haram are far more than the Christians. Yes, a lot of Christians want to deny it, but this is a fact. The Kanu, there was a particular event. And everyone would remember this. Kano Central Mosque was attacked on a Friday. Kano is a major Muslim city. The Friday prayer is usually filled to the brim. The then emir of Kano, His Highness Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, made a khutbah where he categorically attacked Boko Haram on the minbar. So when some Christians say, why aren't Muslims condemning it? Didn't Sanusi Lamido Sanusi condemn this? Or would Jesus Christ be pleased with you as a liar deliberately stoking the fires of ethno-religious conflict wherever you are living? Right? Sanusi came out to condemn Boko Haram, and then the next Friday they came to the mosques, gunning people down indiscriminately. If I remember very well, the Khan then was very more anti-Islamic than what it is now. Khan had to even come out with a publication condemning the attack of Boko Haram. Of course, some people may gloat that, oh, they've done it to you, but right from the beginning, Boko Haram killed Muslims. We have we have a lot of indications that they were the one that killed the Sheikh known as Albani Zaria. We have great indications that they were the one that killed Sheikh Jafar Mahmoud Adam. These were Muslim scholars who did not agree with them. We have on record the former Minister of Communication, Isa Pantami, having a debate with Muhammad Yusuf. So when you say, this is Allah talking about, you, sir, are a bloody liar. So Boko Haram killed people. Then we had banditry, right? So, you know, I'm talking about Boko Haram because Boko Haram, people will say Boko Haram. No. Boko Haram killed both Muslims and Christians. Of course, they carried horrific attacks on Christian population. This is also not undeniable. I will not forget a particular instance where they came to a church and then they closed the doors, locked the windows, and slaughtered every single person in the church. And they say, oh, you did not condemn Boko Haram. I'm not a big scholar. I'm not a big student of knowledge. I remember that as far back as 2011, I wrote in the Vanguard newspapers. There's an article there, keeping the lead on Pandora's box. I think that's the heading. You can Google it now. Keeping a lead on Pandora's box. You're talking about Boko Haram and the need for the government to actually actively go against it. I had TV interviews on LTV, on LTV, Lagos Television, on TVC. This where we condemn unequivocally. Why do we condemn? Not because we want to appease people who do not want us to leave, or because we want to apologize for our faith. No, I'm talking about this also. There's no reason for Muslims to apologize for their faith, but because we felt that this was morally, objectively wrong. Which, of course, we have bigots who only condemn Boko Haram because they are not the ones doing the killing, right? So we'll talk about this. So then we had bandits and then the herdsman. So the banditry and herdsman conflict is intertwined. Nigeria has a very big population of nomadic Fulanis who have been here since ancient times. In fact, a very huge population of the Hausa population is not Hausa, it's Hausa Fulani settlers who married into the indigenous Hausa, were Fulanis, but they were accommodated and they've integrated into that community. So, but those were Fulanis who settled within society. We had Fulanis who still maintained the ancient practice of nomadic movement of their cattle from place to place. Now, some of these guys, okay, there was a little bit of a break. Some of these guys, right, started kidnapping. How much did young Fulanis make from the cattle they go about taking care of? When they tasted kidnapping and saw they could make millions of naira from this, they got into the kidnapping game. Kidnapping took place everywhere. Evans operated in Lagos and the south, right? So it wasn't, but for the Fulani it was very lucrative. Northern Nigeria has a very big expanse of land, and then it became a lucrative business. In addition, right, one of our brothers in the north, Adamu Tilde, I don't know if I got the name very well, he wrote a very beautiful article on Facebook explaining why nomadic Fulani are problematic. It will also be wrong to say that just every nomadic Fulani who is involved in this. There are Fulanis who've lost their cattle to these criminals who are amongst them. But of course, it came through the vehicle of these people, and then banditry became something that was actually very lucrative, right? Then for bandits also, they didn't care if you have the money. They get it. In the southwest, this is what a lot of people refuse to acknowledge. In the southwest, I have friends who are farmers who have suffered Fulani attacks, right? So that they are Muslims, right? Who will come to me and ask me, now, what do we do with these people, right? So this is an environmental issue, a competition for scarce resources. The Fulanis with their cattle will go looking for for their cow or cattle, as the case may be. Unfortunately, they have this very wrong attitude of transgressing on people's farm, and then it becomes a crisis, and then the farmers are killed. So in the Middle Belt, don't forget, talk about the North Central. This crisis has been going on for ages. The killings in Plateau, the killings in Benue. If you look at it critically, it's actually not even an ethno-religious crisis. It's actually a competition for scarce resources. Farmers, indigenous farmers, who are non-Fulanis, and Fulanis who are cattle rearers. But of course, Fulanis are majority Muslim. with a bit of some animist beliefs at times. And then the farmers are majority Christian. So out there, it can be seen as an Islamic slash this guys, you would they are just taking advantage of the situation, right? So it's herders versus farmers, with the herders being majority Muslim and the farmers being majority Christian. This has led to the death of a lot of innocent people, civilians. Some of the blunt truth is that the herders come around and they have a scorched earth policy. They kill everything, man, woman, and children. This is something that I got from a friend who discussed with a Fulani elder, who said that if they feel that they were oppressed, they'll come back to that place and retaliate. And this has gone on. It's not that the farmers don't also retaliate, they retaliate and the Fulanis come around, because the Fulanis are spread all over West Africa. They come around and then they take revenge for what has been done in very bloody fashions. So now, this is what is the problem in the Middle Belt. So when people say, "Oh, Muslims are killing Christians,"